Hey guys, how's it going? Welcome to this video. All right, so we're gonna do this video on a situation. If you guys get into your car and you guys have absolutely no power whatsoever. Matter of fact, this scenario with having no power actually essentially starts with having no power to the locks. You guys would have to use the physical key to actually get into your car. And when you get into your car, you try to start, there's no power whatsoever. It's as if you guys had an entire disconnect of the whole entire electrical system, like as if the battery was completely dead. Now, I had this situation a couple weeks ago where this happened, and the remote wouldn't work, so I had to take the key out, got into the vehicle, and try to start it, and it was just power off. There's like no power, no beep, no sounds, nothing on the dash, nothing. There's like no electrical power whatsoever. I thought about it, went and looked at the battery, thought it was maybe the battery that was the problem, and did a check on the battery. Basically, funny thing is, I actually had a battery tester where you could actually plug it into the 12 volt. They sell for like $7 to $8 at Walmart. I plugged it in and it showed zero battery power, like zero battery power. And if you guys have this situation, you guys are probably thinking that the battery is probably 100% dead, probably a dead battery. But that wasn't the situation, because basically it was driving fine all day. It just happened that I went to McDonald's and got a crispy chicken sandwich, came back out, and that crispy chicken sandwich was pretty expensive, guys. But I came back out, and it didn't start off. I couldn't get into the car. There was no power whatsoever. I actually did ask for a jump, and I had to ask a couple of people. So I had one person give me a jump, put the cables on, try to start it. Zero, nothing at all. So I was like thinking maybe the battery is like so dead that you'd have to wait maybe like 30-60 seconds for it to actually charge up enough to actually get it started. Waited 30-60 seconds, still nothing, no power whatsoever to the vehicle. No power, zero power. And at that point, I was thinking, well, it's gotta be a couple of things. All right, there's gotta be power, because there's a power source. There's gotta be power. So I knew at that point maybe it was a wire that maybe it was the terminals, maybe the positive negative wire had some issues and stuff like that. And I looked at the terminals. The terminals were a little bit on the dirty side. All right, the terminals were a little bit on the dirty side. So what I did was, even before that, I looked at the terminals. The terminals were on the little bit dirty side. Cleaned the terminals, and looked at the wiring just to make sure that the wiring had no issues whatsoever. All right, now there is a chance that if your terminals are so corroded, you're not going to get enough power to the car, and there's a chance that it's so corroded you get zero power to the car. That it's a rare chance that happens, but if that happens, you just want to wiggle the power lines or whatsoever and see if you guys could start it up that way, or you hear any kind of sounds. But the situation with this is there was absolutely no sound whatsoever. There's no beeps. There was no sign of any power to the vehicle. So I was looking at terminals. The terminals were cleaned up. And because of the jump, it didn't do anything. Even with the terminals cleaned up, I was trying to check the wires just to see if the wires had any kind of issues, whether they were frayed, whether they were broken off, whether they were broken off from the terminals themselves, and checked them out, and they were all good. So looked at the ground wire. The ground wire was good. Now I couldn't tell whether the battery had a problem or not. So basically, there was an AutoZone close by me. I went to AutoZone. I actually did get a a multimeter and checked out the battery, and the battery actually read like 12.6. It read 12.6 with the engine not running at all, with nothing running at all. 12.6 on just the battery, standalone battery alone, means that the battery is fully charged up. It means the battery is 100% fully charged up. So so at that point, I knew that it wasn't the battery, it wasn't the wiring, because the wirings looked good. It wasn't the terminal themselves being dirty, corroded, any of that stuff, because they look good. So my next step after that was to look at the fuses, see if any of the fuses were blown. Looked at the fuses, and the fuses were good. I couldn't really see anything that looked kind of weird, any kind of burnt, any kind of smell, any kind of weird brown residue on any of the fuses. They all look good. So I looked at I actually looked at this situation, thought to myself, there's a main fuse for Hondas and Acuras that you definitely want to look for, and most of the times 125 amp fuse. All right, Hondas and Acuras have this main fuse. The Nissans have something called a fusible link, and essentially the Nissan sits on the battery positive terminal themselves. The main fuse for Hondas and Acuras are in the fuse box themselves. So if you guys have this situation, depending on what brand your vehicle is, you guys want to make sure, if you guys have no power at all, you guys want to look at to see if there is a main fuse for the fuse box, for the fuse box, or the main fuse for the positive line, on the positive line, because any issues with those main fuses, and those main fuses essentially is the first protection against any kind of electrical issues, so that your fuse box doesn't get destroyed. Because once your fuse box gets destroyed, it'll either blow out your fuse box, or blow out the fuses, or cause well, they're not going to cause issues with any of the components in the car, because you got the fuses, you got that main fuse, and then you got the fuse box as a secondary as far as individual fuses for those components. But in this situation, you definitely want to look at that main fuse. That main fuse was the issue in this case. Now, if you guys have this situation where the main fuse, as you guys can see in the picture, that's the main fuse. It actually is the fuse that connects the battery and or the whole power source to the rest of the car. If that fuse is blown, you're gonna get no power to any part of your car. All right, so if that fuse is blown, what you guys can do to test it out is, if you guys have like a wire or something like that, a wire, maybe like 12 gauge wire, you guys could actually connect the 2 points, the 2 screws that hold in the fuse. Most of the time, if that fuse is blown, you can connect the 2. If you guys have 2 screwdrivers, what you guys could do is you guys could put the tip of one screwdriver on one screw, put another tip on the screwdriver, another screw, and then you guys could connect the portions, the metal portions of the screwdriver. Most of the time, your vehicle will turn on and start and work. But once you take that off, the vehicle will die, because that fuse connects the whole entire vehicle, the ECU, the fuse box, all the sensors, everything. All right, so if you guys have the situation where your car is completely dead, and it's not the battery, it's not the terminal, it's not the cable, it's not any of that stuff, you definitely want to check the fuse box for the main fuse. You definitely want to test that out, see whether that's the issue or not, because 99% of the time, 99% of the time, if it's not the battery, if it's not the terminals, it's not the wiring, if it's not the ground cable, it's definitely going to be the main fuse in the fuse box. Or if you have a vehicle with if you guys have a vehicle with a fusible link that's connected to the terminal, the positive terminal, you definitely want to check out those kinds of fuses, because they are essentially those fuses essentially are the mechanisms that connect your battery or your charging system with the rest of the vehicle. All right, guys, so I hope this has helped you guys out. If you guys have any of your own personal experiences with this, definitely leave a comment in the comment section. It might help somebody else out. Please subscribe, please give me a thumbs up, all that good stuff. Right, guys, appreciate your time. Take care.